All right, welcome to Original Bacon. Today I thought I would show my Game Boy collection, and then I would show you how to repair a screen on the original Game Boy. So this is my 3DS. I got my 3DS back when it first came out, so I paid about $250, but then I got a whole bunch of free games on it, and it looks like I got a Street Pass. All right. This is what got me back into the Game Boy, the DS Lite. Really cool. You can play DS games and you can play Game Boy Advance games. The 3DS can play DS games and 3DS games. My grandma bought me this a long time ago. This is the Game Boy Advance. You can only play, you can play Game Boy Advance and all the old Game Boy games. And for some Game Boy Color games, if you played it on a Game Boy Advance, you got extra stuff like Legend of Zelda Ocarina or Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Ages. You got an extra dungeon, and it was easier to cross items over to your other game with the Game Boy Advance. Got this right around October. This is a Game Boy Color. This is the Kiwi Color. This can play regular Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games. And I used to have one of these when I was in high school. I guess I gave it away when I got my Game Boy Advance, and because games were enhanced if you played the Game Boy Advance. But I had a berry color, which is pink, so I had a pink Game Boy in high school. I also have the Game Boy printer, as I showed in my Christmas video. And I have the Game Boy Game Shark and some other fun little things. There's my Game Boy DS Lite charger. I have two hookups to go onto the GameCube with the Game Boy. This is for the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy SP. You can use that for. And some styluses. Alright, so here's the big boy. We got the Game Boy case. I got it all situated last night. See, you can hold Game Boy games up here, which is kind of cool. They just pop out, and you have 4 rows to fill up. I guess you can put about 3 games per slot, but you can put 4 if you don't have cases on some games. And down below I have my Light Boy, and in here I have my Game Boy Advance games, and right here I have the Game Boy camera, and here is my gray Game Boy that I'm showing you how to take apart. And it has a little place below so you can keep all your game books in order. Nice little add-on right there for me to be able to put all my games in. But alright, now I'm going to show you how to take apart this Game Boy. Alright, so I have Super Mario Brothers in there right now, and I figured out something kind of silly. Originally I thought my Game Boy was broken. Alright, let's turn down the brightness here. Alright. Turn down the brightness, and you can see that the game is working, but the brightness, you can either turn it completely off or you can turn it up so you can see the game, Mario Brothers. But I had it all the way up, so then I had a black screen, and I was like, why do I have a black screen? I guess it's broken. And so then I decided that I was going to try and solder it and try and fix the pixels. But then I remembered that you had this little switch on the side to make it dimmer or lighter, just like on the Game Boy Advance SP, or I guess the Game Boy Advance SP is the only one that had it. Well, let's see. Yeah, the Game Boy Color didn't have it. The Game Boy Advance didn't have it. I do have my eye on a Game Boy Pocket that's somewhere in Beaverton. I'm not going to tell anybody because they might pick it up before me. But the Game Boy, original Game Boy, had a dimming switch, a contrast switch that you can switch up or down, and it made the screen dark or light. And so I was confused. I completely forgot about it, and so I thought my Game Boy was broken. But I'll show you how to fix. And although my Game Boy did end up having some problems, I ended up finding out that my Game Boy did have a few missing pixel bars on the sides, and I'll show you how to fix that. Although there are tons of videos online in order to check it out. You'll have to check out other videos to see the bars coming back. But the cool thing about fixing the screen is as you're soldering it, you run it. I'll show you in just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to turn off the Game Boy. And first off, right here, first thing we have to do is that we have to take out the batteries. So and I'm going to leave the game in there. All right, so I'm going to leave the game in there. And first off, I used all my big screwdrivers for it last night. But you're going to need, you don't really need a tri-wing screwdriver, but I like having the tri-wing screwdriver because it works on all Nintendo stuff. But I have this is my just a Phillips screwdriver is the only screwdriver you need to fix a Game Boy. All right. And feel free to fast forward. This is going to be a little while. This is the longest part of taking apart the Game Boy is getting these screws out because I don't have a magnetized screwdriver. And so it's going to be a little while. But I just felt that since I fixed my Game Boy last night, that I should be showing my viewers this handy dandy video. All right. And I like to take my Game Boy lid out here. I like to take my Game Boy lid out. And one of the reasons why I brought my magnetic screwdriver out. Alright. Is so we have a place to put the screws. Alright, so we got some of them out here. It looks like we're having a little bit of trouble on that one and that one. Alright, so it looks like there's that one. Alright, so it sounds like I got that one. Alright, so next you take off the Game Boy You flip it up, and this is what the Game Boy looks like. Let me move back my computer so you can see. That's what the Game Boy looks like on the inside. So the next move is that we take out all of these little screws right over here. That is a long process. So if you want to fast forward, it's going to take a little while. And I have to thank my friend AJ for showing me how to fix an original Nintendo, because that got me thinking that I really liked doing that. And I'm not the best handyman around the house, but I like fixing things, and I'm always interested about how things work. And since I'm really into video games, then it only seemed natural that I should like to fix video game systems. Alright, so we're almost there. So there are, how many do we have so far? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 screws. And pretty soon I'm going to be looking on the lookout for another Game Boy, because I was checking out some YouTube videos where you can switch the screen on an original Game Boy with a Game Boy SP screen, which is really cool considering that I'm always finding broken Game Boy SPs on at Goodwill. Alright, so another fun time to have one of these. Guess they had a little bit more screwing to do. Alright, so we got one. Alright, so let's get these out. Alright, so you can just kind of lift it out and tip it, and I try and keep these in right here. This Game Boy is extremely well taken care of. Look at that. It's super clean on the inside. This guy that sold me this Game Boy sold it in great condition. Here's what the Game Boy looks like. And so, you take your soldering iron. Well, first off, what you would do is you'd want to take a little flathead screwdriver, and I was just prying up right here and taking off this strip right here. And see, some people either plug in their Game Boy at this point, and most people actually have it's best to do this where in a place where you have a lot of outlets that you can use. But I didn't have any outlets, or a AC adapter for my Game Boy. So I just put the batteries back into my Game Boy, and you can turn it on. See? Here we got Mario Brothers going. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm going to put the Game Boy up right here. You can see I have the Game Boy on. And so what you would do at this point, so we've taken off the little rubber strip right here that was holding it right here. So that's what would have, when they originally put the Game Boy on here, almost. So this Game Boy is almost 16, almost 26 years old. So at this point, you would, fortunately I had a very short cord on my, and no extension wire for my soldering iron. So here's my soldering iron. I got it for $7 at Fred Meyer's. And then I would just lightly, I'd have it plugged in, and it gets really hot. It says about it can get up to 700 degrees. And you just massage it in all the because you have all the sensors, or the little, you have the little pieces of metal that are wanting to fuse together that create the connection for the pixels to be on the screen. And so you want to basically heat them up and heat them back together, like melt them back together. And so you want to, because what happens is that this starts curling, and this started losing its grip. And so this got loose so it gets loose on either side, and you start losing pixels because the two metal strips are moving away from each other. And so they're moving away from each other on either side right over here. And so you just want to lightly massage them and bring back the pixels. And the pixels go in bars up the screen. And so usually you'll see a bunch of bars moving over on either side. And as you're massaging it, the cool thing about having the Game Boy on is that you can see all of the bars coming back. And you just massage it back, and you're heating up the metal, and the metal's fusing back together, and you're just moving your way across. I was just moving my way across, but it might be smart just to massage in that one area where the pixels are gone. And you can tell where you are on the Game Boy screen, what part of the sensor bar or of the metal bars you're on, because you'll see little kind of glitches in the bar, and you'll be able to see as you're pressing down, you'll be able to see the pixel coming back, and then you can just move your way across it and find out where it is on here that it's loose. So then you just move your way through, because most of the time as it loses grip, it starts moving across, but there's some little pieces that will keep a hold, and so then you can just massage those parts back, and eventually you'll see all the pixels turn back on, and you'll have a full screen just like this one. And so here we are. That is how to fix an old Game Boy. Thank you for watching Original Bacon, and sorry this video was so long, but fast forward through the parts where I was just unscrewing everything, and I hope I gave anybody some good information. And email me or leave messages below if you found this useful. There's a bunch of videos on it, and I'm sure that more people can give you more information. This is just my hobby, and I'm really interested in it, and I look forward to finding out more information if you have any more information to give me. Thank you. Have a great day.